Imagine this. You stand on the precipice of your own life, looking out at the vast expanse of possibility, yet something within you holds you back. You feel the stirrings of a deep power inside, a force that has always been there, but somehow remains untapped. It is the energy of your feminine essence, but it seems distant, as though shrouded in a veil of confusion, doubt, and external expectations. You have heard whispers of this power, power that is not about domination, not about influence over others, but a quiet, unapologetic force that is deeply connected to your very being. And yet, you find yourself hesitating. You ask, can this power truly lead me to discover myself? The answer lies within the quiet spaces of your own mind, between the noise of societal conditioning and the chaos of past wounds. This journey, your journey, is not one of accumulating knowledge, but of uncovering truth. It is about peeling away the layers of distortion that have formed over time, layers that have been imposed upon you by others, by culture, by the very systems that shaped the person you think you are today. What would happen if you dared to step away from all that? What would happen if you allowed the stillness of your soul to speak louder than the clamor of the world around you? There is a truth in you that is not bound by the limitations of your self-image, a truth that exists beneath the weight of expectations. It is a truth born from your deepest essence, untouched by external forces, yet continuously shaped by the unconscious mind. But it is not always easy to access. The world teaches us to see ourselves through a distorted lens, focusing on what we lack, what we must achieve, who we must become in order to be seen as worthy. And so we build our identities, not from a place of truth, but from a reflection of what we think we should be. But when you pause, when you sit in silence and confront your own self-image, what do you truly see? Do you see someone who has been wounded, someone who has been taught to shrink, to apologize for their existence? Or do you see the powerful, unapologetic being that you were always meant to be? The answer may not be immediate, but it is there, hidden behind the illusion of what you are told to be. The very act of questioning the validity of this image sets in motion a process of deep transformation. This is where feminine power begins. It begins not in the pursuit of anything external, but in the reclamation of what is already yours. Feminine power is not a thing you acquire. It is a state of being you awaken to. It is a presence, an energy that exists within the silence of your heart. But it is also a force that transcends societal roles, judgments, and constraints. It is the power of being enough without needing to prove yourself to anyone. In a world that teaches women to give, to nurture, to be everything for others, feminine power asks, what if you gave that same devotion to yourself? What if you allowed yourself to take up space, to exist fully, without apology? To answer these questions requires courage. The courage to dismantle everything you thought you knew about your own limitations, about the roles you've been conditioned to play. The question, can feminine power and freedom help you discover yourself, is not one that can be answered by simply accumulating more knowledge, by learning new strategies, or by looking for external validation. The truth is, you are already whole. You are already powerful. The path to discovering yourself is not about seeking something outside of you. It is about peeling away the layers of conditioning that obscure your true nature. But how do you begin this process? It begins with awareness. Awareness of the ways in which you have been taught to see yourself. Have you ever stopped to truly question the voice inside your head, the one that tells you you're not enough? Have you listened closely to the subtle messages of inadequacy that arise when you compare yourself to others? These messages, while often subtle, are deeply ingrained. They are part of the psychological wounding that has shaped the way you view yourself. But what if you could look at those messages from a place of deep awareness, a place of stillness?
What if, by simply acknowledging them, you could begin to break free from their grip? This is the first step towards reclaiming your feminine power. The recognition that you had been conditioned to believe in your own inadequacy, and the willingness to question it. In that moment of questioning, there is a shift, an internal awakening to the possibility of something more. The realization that you do not have to conform to anyone's expectations, that you are not bound by the roles others have assigned you, is the beginning of true freedom. But freedom in this sense is not a passive state. It is not about being free from responsibility or from the pressures of life. It is about being free from the internal constraints that have kept you trapped in a cycle of self-doubt, of self-judgment. It is the freedom to live authentically, without the need for external validation. And this is where the true power of the feminine resides. It is a power that is not rooted in competition, in comparison, or in striving for more. It is a power that comes from the quiet confidence of knowing who you are, without the need to prove it to anyone. Now, as you sit in stillness, as you reflect on these thoughts, ask yourself, what would it feel like to embrace this power? Not tomorrow, not in the future, but right now. What would it feel like to step into your own life, unencumbered by fear, unchained by the past? What would it feel like to claim your freedom, not as a distant dream, but as a present reality? The answer is waiting, within you, in the quiet spaces between the thoughts, in the silence that is the true home of your soul.
In the silence, you begin to understand. Power is not something you chase. It is something you remember. It was never lost, never hidden. It was always there, buried beneath layers of false beliefs, beneath the patterns of fear and the constant striving for external approval. Feminine power is not about being loud or forceful. It is about standing in the truth of your being, grounded and unshakable. It is the soft strength of knowing you are enough, exactly as you are, and no amount of validation from the outside world can define your worth. This is not a power that seeks to dominate or control others. Rather, it is the power of presence, the ability to simply be without the need to prove anything. When you embody this, the world changes around you. You stop looking for acceptance from others, and instead you accept yourself fully. You stop comparing your journey to someone else's, and you begin to walk your path with confidence. This confidence is not born from the ego, but from a deep inner knowing that you are enough. The ego, constantly driven by fear of rejection, by the need for validation, fades into the background when you begin to embody your true self. But here lies a challenge. To step into your feminine power requires that you let go of the stories you've told yourself about who you are supposed to be. Stories shaped by the judgments of others, by the expectations that society has placed upon you. These stories are not yours. They are borrowed, handed down through generations, imposed upon you like a mask you were taught to wear. They are not the truth of who you are. In fact, they obscure the essence of your being, the radiant power that lies within you. In order to reclaim your power, you must dismantle these stories. You must question the beliefs that have governed your life. And ask yourself, are they truly mine? Are these beliefs based on your inner truth, or are they reflections of what others expect of you? Do you believe that you must be small to be loved? That you must give endlessly without receiving? That you must remain silent to keep the peace? These beliefs, though deeply ingrained, are not truth. They are simply stories that have been passed down, and they can be rewritten. When you begin to rewrite these stories, something extraordinary happens. You begin to see the world not as it has been imposed upon you, but as it truly is. You start to perceive through the lens of clarity, not through the distortion of past wounds or the expectations of others.
This is where the feminine power of perception comes in. The ability to see clearly, to understand that the stories of limitation are just that, stories, and that you are the author of your own narrative. But clarity, like any powerful tool, requires attention. It demands that you be fully present in the moment, not lost in the distractions of the past or the anxiety of the future. The moment you step into awareness, you step into the realm of choice. In this space, you can choose how to respond to life, how to engage with the world. You can choose not to be swept away by the tides of emotion, but instead to stand firm in your inner truth. This is where feminine freedom emerges, not in the absence of responsibility, but in the freedom from the weight of false beliefs. When you stop carrying the burden of others' expectations, you begin to experience life as it is, unfiltered, unclouded, and full of possibility. And it is in this freedom that you find yourself. This process of reclamation is not easy. It requires confronting the darkness within, the parts of you that have been wounded by past experiences, the parts that feel unworthy or broken. These wounds, though painful, hold the key to your transformation. They are not obstacles to your growth. They are stepping stones. In acknowledging and embracing them, you gain the power to transcend them. The pain becomes a gateway to freedom, and the darkness becomes a fertile ground for new growth. The truth of your feminine power lies in your ability to heal, to rise above the wounds of the past, and to move forward with strength and clarity. This healing is not a one-time event, but a continuous process of self-discovery and self-compassion. It requires that you face the parts of yourself that you may have neglected, the parts that you have hidden from the world. These are the parts that hold your greatest power. When you begin to heal, you begin to shed the layers of self-doubt, of fear, and of the need to prove yourself. You begin to see the truth of your own worth, not as something that can be earned, but as something that is inherent in your very being. Your feminine power is not something you need to chase. It is something you need to remember. It is the remembering of who you truly are beneath the mask of who you were taught to be. In this process of remembrance, you begin to discover the freedom that comes with living authentically. You no longer need to seek validation or approval from others. You no longer need to shrink yourself to fit into a mold. You no longer need to play small to make others feel comfortable. You can stand in your own light, fully and unapologetically. This is the gift of feminine power, the freedom to be yourself in all of your complexity and all of your beauty and in all of your strength. And in this freedom, you discover that you are not just capable of surviving the world, you are capable of transforming it.
As you continue on this journey of reclaiming your feminine power, a profound shift begins to take place within you. It is a shift in the way you perceive yourself, in the way you understand the world around you. It is a shift from seeing yourself as fragile, as broken, as less than, to recognizing yourself as whole, as powerful, and as infinitely capable. The deeper you move into this awareness, the more you begin to understand the nature of true freedom. True freedom is not a product of circumstance or external conditions. It is not something that can be given to you by others, nor is it something that can be taken away. It is an internal state, a choice to exist outside the confines of societal pressures, outside the constraints of judgment, comparison, and expectation. It is a radical act of self-liberation, the choice to live authentically, without the need for approval or validation. But this freedom does not come easily. It requires you to face the deepest parts of yourself, those parts that have been hidden away, those parts that have been wounded by past experiences, those parts that have been told they are not enough.
It requires you to confront the false beliefs you have about yourself, the beliefs that have kept you small, quiet, and submissive. These beliefs are the chains that bind you, and only through awareness can you break free from them. The process of breaking free is not linear. There will be moments of doubt, moments when you question whether you are truly capable of living in your power. There will be moments when the voice of fear creeps in, when the urge to shrink and hide becomes overwhelming. But in those moments, it is essential to remember, fear is not your enemy. Fear is simply an indication that you are stepping into unknown territory, that you are pushing against the boundaries of the self that has been constructed by others. When you begin to move through fear, you begin to dissolve it. Fear loses its grip on you when you stand firm in the truth of who you are. It cannot control you when you no longer allow it to dictate your actions, when you no longer seek to appease it by shrinking or by conforming to the expectations of the world. Instead, you stand tall, rooted in your own truth, knowing that nothing outside of you has the power to define your worth. This process of stepping into your power is one of deep self-acceptance. It is the acceptance of both your light and your shadow. For true power is not the denial of your weaknesses or flaws. It is the full integration of every part of you, the light and the dark, the strong and the vulnerable. Only when you accept every aspect of yourself can you step into your full power. This is what it means to be whole, to be fully present with all of who you are, to embrace your humanity with all its imperfections, and to still stand tall in your truth. And as you stand in this truth, you begin to see the world differently. The judgments of others no longer have the same power over you. The need to prove yourself, to gain the approval of others, begins to fade away. You no longer live in reaction to the expectations of those around you. Instead, you live from a place of deep inner knowing. You live with the confidence that you are enough, exactly as you are. This is the freedom that comes with feminine power, the freedom to live unapologetically, to speak your truth, to follow your own path without seeking approval or validation. It is the freedom to stop measuring your worth by the standards of the world and to begin measuring it by the depth of your own self-awareness, by the strength of your own inner truth. But this is not just freedom for yourself. As you step into your feminine power, you become a beacon for others. Your authenticity, your courage, your unwavering commitment to your own truth becomes an invitation for others to step into their own power, simply by being who you truly are. In this space of feminine empowerment, there is no competition, no scarcity. There is only abundance. When you embrace your own worth, you help others to do the same. And in doing so, you begin to create a ripple effect of change, one that spreads far beyond you. Your freedom becomes a catalyst for the freedom of others, and together you begin to create a world where women are no longer confined by the limitations of self-doubt and fear. This is the true meaning of feminine power. It is the power to uplift, to heal, and to transform. It is the power to inspire others to step into their own greatness, to embrace their own authenticity, and to live without apology. It is the power to create a world where women are free to be themselves, where they are free to express their true essence without fear of judgment or rejection. In the very act of stepping into your feminine power, you not only free yourself, but you also contribute to the liberation of the collective. You become part of a larger movement, one that is rooted in love, in acceptance, and in the belief that all people, especially women, deserve to live freely and authentically. And so as you continue to walk this path, remember that every step you take towards self-acceptance is a step towards freedom, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. The more you embrace your feminine power, the more you invite others to do the same. And in that shared journey of empowerment, you will find that true freedom is not a solitary pursuit, but a collective one.
As you move deeper into your feminine power, you begin to realize that freedom is not just about personal liberation. It is also about connection. In a world that often encourages isolation, competition, and comparison, feminine power invites you to connect. both with yourself and with others. It is not the power of separation, but the power of unity. It is the power to stand in your truth while honoring the truths of others, to exist in a state of harmony with both your own being and the world around you. When you tap into the essence of your feminine power, you begin to understand that true connection is born not from performing for others, not from the need to be seen or validated, but from the willingness to be seen as you are, flaws, imperfections, strength, and vulnerability. There is an incredible liberation in this kind of connection, one that is free from judgment and free from the need to be anything other than authentic. This is where the beauty of feminine power truly lies, in its ability to foster deep, meaningful relationships that are built on mutual respect and shared authenticity. As you embrace your own power, you also create the space for others to do the same. You become a mirror for those around you, reflecting back their own worth and encouraging them to stand fully in their truth. This process of connection is also deeply rooted in empathy, in the understanding that everyone carries their own wounds, their own struggles, their own story. When you begin to step into your power, you no longer judge others for their struggles, nor do you seek to fix or save them. Instead, you simply see them, without judgment, without expectation, and with the deep recognition that they are as deserving of freedom as you are. Feminine power, in this sense, is not a power over others, it is a power with others. It is the power to lift each other up, to support each other in our shared journey of healing and self-discovery. As you become more attuned to this power, you also begin to understand that true strength does not lie in domination or control. It lies in the ability to surrender. Surrender to the flow of life, to the ebb and flow of your own emotions, and to the understanding that you do not need to force things to happen. There is a quiet strength in surrender, a strength that comes from trusting the process of life and knowing that you are exactly where you need to be. Surrender, however, is not the same as submission. It is not about giving up or resigning yourself to the status quo. It is about releasing the need to control outcomes, to fight against what is, and instead allowing yourself to flow with the currents of your own truth. This surrender is not passive. It is active in its recognition of your own power and the strength it takes to let go of the need to force, to fix, or to manipulate. It is the act of trusting yourself, trusting the universe, and knowing that you do not need to strive to be something you are not. And this is where freedom, in its truest sense, begins. It begins not in the pursuit of more, but in the quiet acceptance of what is. It begins in the moment when you no longer chase validation, when you no longer feel the need to prove yourself to the world, when you simply allow yourself to be. In this being, you are free. In this being, you are whole. When you live from this place of freedom, you begin to see that the world outside of you mirrors the world within. When you stop seeking validation from others, you stop attracting relationships that are based on need and insecurity. Instead, you attract relationships that are rooted in mutual respect, that are based on the recognition of each other's wholeness. The energy you send out into the world is the energy you receive back. And so the question that lingers, can feminine power and freedom help you discover yourself, is met with a resounding yes. They not only help you discover yourself, they allow you to rediscover the truth of who you have always been. They are the tools that help you peel away the layers of falsehoods, of societal conditioning, of self-doubt. And in this peeling away,
you find that you were never lost. You were always there, waiting to be seen, waiting to be embraced. As you step into your feminine power, you step into the truth of your own being. You embrace your vulnerability as strength, your silence as wisdom, your pain as transformation. You release the need to compete, to prove, to seek approval. You stand tall, unapologetically, in your own truth. And in that standing, you become a beacon for others to do the same. True freedom, in this sense, is not a destination. It is a way of being. It is the ongoing process of shedding the layers of falsehoods and stepping ever more fully into the truth of who you are. It is the process of constantly returning to the present moment, of continually letting go of the stories and beliefs that no longer serve you. It is the act of being free in every thought, in every action, in every relationship. And as you embrace this freedom, you begin to see that it is not something that is outside of you, but something that is inherently within you. It is the freedom that comes when you stop looking for validation and start living for yourself. It is the freedom that comes when you stop striving to be someone you are not and start embracing the person you already are. In the very act of stepping into your power, you are not just freeing yourself. You are freeing the world. You are showing others what is possible when they step into their own truth. You are showing them that they too can be free. And in that shared freedom, a new world begins to emerge. One where women are no longer bound by the chains of self-doubt and fear, but one where they stand together in the quiet, unwavering strength of their own authenticity. In the very act of seeing the false as false and truth as truth, there is liberation.